Hi, everybody. Welcome to Career Community KSA Insights. My name is Fernando Tornos from Analysis Mason, and I'm here with Halil, LINX Regional Director in the Middle East. How are you doing, Halil?
Doing great. Amazing. How are you?
Here, and I believe we will be discussing about the rising peering and connectivity in the Middle East. Am I right?
That's absolutely right. Yeah. Lots happening in the Middle East that I love to talk about.
Perfect. Given we will be covering all the key considerations when the region, also where the connectivity may evolve in the future. I'm very happy to get your thoughts, get your insights on these particular topics. And then probably we can have a Q&A section and we go through that key points that will come to my mind as we go through your slides.
Sure. Absolutely. So this is just a very quick and short overview of LINX and what we do and what's happening in the Middle East in terms of connectivity in the ever-changing landscape that we're all a part of. As mentioned, my name is Halil Kama. I'm the Regional Director for the Middle East at LINX. Happy to present today. So LINX, the London Internet Exchange. We're one of the largest internet exchanges in the world. We started in 1994. We're a not-for-profit organization, meaning the profit we do make, we put back into building our ecosystem and R&D and providing value for our members. We're known as one of the top global internet exchanges around the world. There are over 1,014 internet exchanges when I checked last month around the world. So we're one of the classed as the top three. Links in numbers and how we look on paper. We have over 900 ASNs connected to us, so 900 networks from around the world, 81 countries that we're connections into London from, 16 points of presence in London. We have 3 regional exchanges, so that is Manchester, Scotland, Wales. We also have a site in the US, in Virginia, close to Washington. That was our first international site that we opened at LINX. We now have 3 exchange points in Saudi Arabia, which I'll be focusing on today and talking quite a lot about. Aside from that, we have exchanges in Kenya, one in Nairobi and one in Mombasa, and we're now deploying in Ghana as well in the coming months. So what is peering and how can this benefit my network? For those of you that don't know, I'm just going to give a very brief overview of what we do essentially and why we're a key cornerstone of the internet. So public peering has been around for more than 20 years, actually 30 plus years now. It's used by networks large and small, so everyone from Google or your large blue chips down to a tiny startup can use the LINX infrastructure. We're basically just a flat layer 2. We pass traffic from point A to point B. Members can use us using a single port, really. It's nothing fancy. It's a very core infrastructure on a layer 2, a flat layer 2 surface. That's what we provide. The reasons for peering, it's an efficient way to keep traffic local, which you'll hear time and time again today during this presentation. It increases redundancy, improves resilience on your network, and reduces costs. Maybe that's one of the main core factors that we try to attribute to peering. So the benefits of joining LINX, why LINX out of the 1,000+ exchanges that are around there, right? We're one of the cornerstones of it is a key, vibrant community. As I said, we're a neutral non-profits. We have a unique dual LAN infrastructure in London, and this gives extra resilience to the networks that do join globally. The sites that are listed there on the right-hand side. So LINX is a membership organization, and when you join LINX and become a member, you automatically have a right and a free port at all of our sites around the world. So you get a free 2 gig peering service in London, in Nova, in Scotland, in Mombasa, Accra, any of those points of presence that is of interest to your business or entity. You can take a free 2 gig peering port at LINX. So that's provided within the community elements to provide value to our membership at the very core of what we do. The LINX ecosystem, how it looks, we have a varying array of ecosystem participants. So ISPs, operators. Operators are obviously the first to utilize LINX alongside ISPs because they were the main ones passing traffic, such as BT to other ISPs within the UK. Cloud providers, educational networks, IP Transit also utilize LINX. Enterprise, gaming, the CDN world, they like to utilize links because it's another way for them to pass traffic across to their end user. Search engines, government, military, so a wide array of membership LINX members that utilize us for various different points in their business. Right, it is a very much an individual case by case basis as to why a network would appear on an internet exchange, and not just for links, it's for all of the IXPs that you would see globally. So LINX KSA and the network and how that looks. So as I mentioned, we have 3 sites, or we'll be having 3 sites in KSA. Currently, we have Jeddah and Riyadh that are live. Dammam will be coming live in the next 6 weeks or so. We should have Dammam going live, which will be our 3rd exchange point within Saudi Arabia. Now, these are Center 3 owned exchange points that are operated by LINX. So they're powered by LINX. That's a slogan that you'll hear quite often in the Middle East, the powered by statement. We have a great partnership with Center 3. We work very closely with them as a strategic partner in enhancing their IXP offering within KSA. So KSA is a very interesting place and lots happening. There are 14 submarine cables that pass across the kingdom. Key landing stations in Jeddah, Yanbu and Duba. The Siwi cable system passes through. Falcon, EMC, that there's a plethora of links that connect into the kingdom. And what this does, it is, there are many elements to it. Obviously, it makes it a key hub for passing traffic. Jeddah has become quite, seen substantial growth over the years in connectivity due to the amount of subsea cables that pass through the Suez Canal and into Europe. So it's geographically, it's a very key place as it passes between Europe and Asia. And Saudi is right in the middle of all of this. So it's a very interesting place to build an exchange point. Our first exchange was actually created in Jeddah. So where you see the cable landing stations go into, encircled in red, are where all our exchanges are. So the first one was in Jeddah. The one in the middle is in Riyadh, and the one furthest inward, where the cable landing stations are coming back in, that is in Dammam, which, as I said, going live shortly. So the IXP landscape and how does that look for Saudi Arabia? It's actually quite interesting, and because there's a lot of movement in the marketplace, especially in KSA and the GCC in general, more so than other parts of the world. Particularly if you ask me, as someone that is very heavily involved in this. So Saudi Arabia has currently 5 live exchange points operated by ourselves. SciX and Equinix also have an operation in Saudi Arabia. About 8.63 percentage-wise of the local population period IXPs, that's due to regulation and many other factors. But what is interesting is the capacity that is being utilized in the kingdom in IXPs. So as you can see on the chart there, from 2020, there was very little movement in the capacity needed for IXPs. And actually LINX started in the end of 2019, 2020 was when we first launched the exchange and went live. And you can see a great trajectory there of actually the benefits that we bring in locally to the country. Because traffic has gone from quite small amounts of capacity, 2 terabits up to what we're hitting now across the exchange point of 12 gigabits, sorry, not terabits, 12 gigabits of average traffic daily. And the spike there is continuing to grow, and we're seeing quite a large portion of demand continuing to be needed from our customers that join us in Saudi Arabia. The future and how that looks, it's a very interesting space, and we're going to get into how that looks in the kingdom. So, no doubt everyone would have heard of the Vision 2030 and the digital transformation that's happening in Saudi Arabia and what the kingdom is trying to achieve with that. There's investments in all kinds of infrastructure, obviously AI being the large talking point at the moment, 5G, data centers being rolled out, uh, subsea landing stations being poised with further investments. There are lots and lots of different areas and verticals of investments going into KSA, which all help the initiative of bringing in digital transformation to the country. If you look at AI, there's billions of dollars. If you look at 5G, hundreds of millions of dollars. Data centers, billions of dollars again. The subsea capacity, there's $1 billion infrastructure going in there. Obviously, the key area is AI adoption at the moment. There's a lot of focus in that, especially in the kingdom, around AI and how can we integrate that into the telecom landscape. What use cases can be brought from it? Where can we utilize it to the benefit of the country, the benefit of the world, right? And looking at how to bring that infrastructure locally into KSA and not only roll it out from the US as expansive technology. 5G is being rolled out quite heavily across the country. So 5G master, there's a heavy deployment there that's happening for the kingdom, creating a robust infrastructure for the future. The fortunate point of being in the GCC as a whole is that the infrastructure that we get to create and develop here, we're quite lucky that there isn't a lot of legacy infrastructure from previous assets. Unlike Europe or the UK specifically, where we are from the London Internet Exchange standpoint, BT had a huge hurdle of creating or turning the copper pipes that we had bringing in internet connectivity into fiber. There was a huge fiber rollout plan in Europe, subsidized heavily by the government in order to reach a certain adoption of fiber household. In the UAE, in the GCC, Bahrain, Kuwait, etc., they don't have that issue because they're deploying this infrastructure as brand new. So it's a great starting point for the country or the countries involved. So that enhances regional connectivity. You're seeing it more and more, and we'll talk about that in our conversation. But there are lots of things that are enhancing the connectivity and also leading to the 2030 vision of making it a hub for connectivity. So some of the announcements here, what's fueling the innovation? There are a lot of announcements, and it's a very exciting space to be in. Every month or so, there's a big announcement around something, whether it's AI, whether it's telco, whether it's data centers. There's always something that's happening, which makes my job very exciting. So one of the key elements, nearly $15 billion of investments from Grok with a Q, not a K, for Aramco Digital and AI infrastructure. There's Humane AI, which are also putting in a huge amount of investment from the government. That's Saudi's own answer to ChatGPT, if you will. That'll be rolling out next year. There are huge gigawatt sites planned for that and developments that are happening within country. SAS Riyadh, they've launched $1 billion of commitment to advanced analytics, AI solutions, and tailoring it for the needs of Saudis, and not only needs of Saudis, needs of everyone in the GCC and the wider world. But they've chosen to put Saudi as their hub with that $1 billion investment. There's a lot of partnerships in the kingdom with Microsoft, who we partner with as well. There's an AI skilling initiative for the Saudi locals to be trained on AI knowledge bases and writing code or being able to use the tokens that are initiated from the AI infrastructure. So the plan is to have 100,000 Saudis deeply trained in AI by 2030, so that they would have a skilled workforce that can provide great value to the country. And peering, obviously, where ourselves sit in this ecosystem. So as all of these ecosystems develop, peering can be utilized for any one of them at any given point. The use cases for AI are increasing, and obviously the exchange point is going to be a pivotal point of connectivity for that whole ecosystem that is happening. So key summaries from it. So powering the Middle East, there's a lot of infrastructure investments and digitalization happening within the GCC. That is coming into realization, and we're seeing that more and more every day across Dubai, Qatar, Kuwait, and of course Saudi. everyone is leveraging IXPs for efficiency in various use cases within the UAE, and that will continue to grow. They're building resilient routes now because of the recent threats that we've seen on the subsea capacity. New paths are being launched, whether that's satellite, whether it's new cable routes. So that's a growing area of concern, but also opportunity for us. And also, obviously, the data center surge, right? There's a huge development in data centers, and in every country in the GCC is investing in different capacities all around that to make that vision come true. So that's where we are, and they're the key elements that I would take away from it that are happening right now within this space from a LINX perspective.
So clearly, Saudi Arabia is currently a key connectivity hub, right? Based on what we have seen, and so much will keep coming in the upcoming years, right?
Absolutely.
Now, I do have a bit of a question here, right? I mean, we have discussed mostly on KSA. You have named these submarine cables, which are landing in Jambu, which are coming to Dammam in short, right? But what about the rest of the ecosystem? What about the other IXPs in the region? What about the data centers? What about other subsea cables which are not coming to Saudi Arabia? Could you please give us an overview of the rest of the GCC in the connectivity and peering?
Sure. So which are not coming into the kingdom or are coming in? Sorry.
Which are not coming into the kingdom?
Are not coming in. Well, it's only a matter of time, right?
Yeah.
Everything is based on a business case. The business cases are required regardless of the piece of money that we do have, or the kingdom has, or the sovereign wealth fund, or whoever is investing into whichever country, right? All of the capacity owned by the kingdom is obviously majority is Center 3 or STC and other operators. So there has to be a business case for it, essentially, at the end of the day. Once the business case stacks up, usually they will build and plow heavy investments into it from there. So it's just a matter of time for us to see those cables landing in Jeddah and elsewhere within the kingdom.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, for example, we have the case of NEOM, right, which is developing, which is growing. Would you eventually expect an IXP to be placed over there, given the close regional, essentially to all the cables coming down from Egypt, potentially coming down from the Gulf of Aqaba?
100%, yes. It's part of our key discussions. There's a lot happening in NEOM. I know that data centers are being built. That's public information. They need the infrastructure there, right? So currently there's a large infrastructure being built out for NEOM to house the IXPs and the telcos and all the other operators that are coming in, the content guys that will need it to be there. But how do you bring them to NEOM? You need a data center first. So Center 3 are rolling out quite a number of data centers. Quite large facilities are being built there. I think by 2027, the first one should go live, from my understanding. So 2027 onwards is when we'll be looking to hopefully look at NEOM for IXP connectivity in line for the 2030 launch and vision, what's happening.
Thank you, Khalid. So, I mean, we keep discussing about the Middle East now, but for the listeners who may not be familiar with the region, how could you define or how could you differentiate the Middle Eastern internet topology as compared to Europe or Asia? Think about latency, redundancy, traffic flows.
Sure. I mean, it's a very interesting space, and I'll keep saying interesting for the rest of this interview. But we're in a space now in the GCC where Europe was possibly 15 years ago, even 20 years ago, where APAC was 15 years ago, certainly. And what that is it builds a swarm of traffic coming into the GCC because the gates are now open, essentially. For quite some time, the gates were closed. As you saw in my presentation, the 2020 when LINX came in with the connectivity for IXPs. Connectivity before then was quite low in the kingdom and for IXPs in general in the GCC. That's now taken off, and everyone is doing their terabit of connectivity across the exchange, which is amazing for ourselves, for UAEIX and others. But to have that happen within such a short time frame is truly remarkable, and that's because the GCC market itself opening itself up to uh, companies coming in, investments coming in, countries being able to diversify their portfolio, and looking at the Middle East now as um, a serious hub for connectivity. If you'd asked someone before in let's say 2015, would you consider KSA or UAE as a serious hub for connectivity? For sure, they'd say no. It's too expensive. It's too risky. Geopolitics, etc. There are many elements which would have put off a global carrier or global CDN in investing. Now, all of those negative points have been, I wouldn't say fought at, but we've managed to demonstrate and time and time again show what value is being brought into the GCC, which has only made our value proposition as a whole for the whole continent is much stronger for European players, players from the US or APAC, etc. So it's opened up the market. But for those of you that aren't too familiar over the market, I'd say it's a souk at the moment where you're going into a gold souk or a markets, and it's the bustling place to be. But is a lot more interesting than other markets.
The place to be indeed. Thank you. So, I mean, we keep discussing. We know the IP transit, which is the one paid when there is an imbalance. We have the bidding, settlement-free bidding, right? So, as a regional director, which is the typical strategy that is following the region?
Well, each case is unique. I can't give a one-size-fits-all formula for any particular network. All of the networks that I speak to from all around the world, from Asia to the US, European network, all of them have a driving force behind them connecting into KSA or connecting into the GCC. And I'm quite fortunate at LINX that we were in a very neutral position, and people trust that with being able to offer them sound advice, I would say, for their network connectivity. We put the network first rather than commercial gain. So we offer a very neutral viewpoint on what is happening. But my strategy for networks that come in is to firstly minimize costs. That's the main factor, right? Are we minimizing costs? Are we keeping traffic local for you? Are we bringing traffic under 40 milliseconds, as an example? Are you round tripping your traffic going into Europe still for connectivity that you're offering in the kingdom? If we can cut your bills by, let's say, 25% at least, that would be a worthwhile metric for you to deploy a POP in KSA or the GCC, because the pricing is quite steep compared to Europe or elsewhere in the world. And that's because of a few telcos operating in the marketplace in general. There are many other factors around it, regulation and so on. But we try to provide value and work backwards from the chain of the points I've set. So keeping traffic local, looking at your millisecond count, what the round trip time is for your traffic, and do we provide value is the main question that I certainly look at for networks that are connecting it. So as I said, it's not a one shoe fits all approach. Every network is different. Some networks don't look at the cost factor, and they say we just need to be in the kingdom to provide better connectivity to our end customer, and we're not worried about the pricing as of yet. To various use cases all the time.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you add value. I'm pretty sure of that. Now,
We wouldn't be around if we wasn't adding value.
that's a very fair point. So, I mean, worth discussing. I mean, I saw in your slides earlier that the traffic in case is growing. You just mentioned that you are aiming to bring together more regional players. So, would you say that there are like bigger and bigger players bidding in the Middle East, or there's still a strong reliance towards Europe, let's say, must say Amsterdam or Singapore, or traffic is starting to consolidate in the region?
I mean, there is still a huge reliance on Europe. I can't lie. I'd be lying if I said, yeah, sure, we've got it all in the GCC and you don't need to go elsewhere. No, for sure, there is a huge reliance in Europe. There is a lot of traffic there that is still routed across. Oman is an example. UAE still route traffic. There's lots of traffic being routed across, right? Especially on the subsea cut that happened recently.
Absolutely.
You saw a lot of peers, rather than directing their traffic locally because they couldn't reach those networks, they rerouted the traffic to Europe, right? at a larger cost to everyone involved, at a cost of latency, at a cost of US dollars. So it's a multi-factor cost scenario there, which isn't good for anyone in the region itself. It benefits the guys in Europe and us as the London Internet Exchange, I guess. But in terms of actual connectivity and for the demographic of users that we have in the kingdom, I mean, we're talking a vast population of millions, right? Of people that are streaming football or using Microsoft services or Office 365, whatever it may be. So that service is interrupted because of this subsea cut. So how do you prevent that? So the larger players, the hyperscalers, are all coming into the kingdom and various parts of the GPT. We've got Microsoft making deals, Oracle, Google coming in, Alibaba Cloud. All of those guys are coming in. But it takes time. It's not an overnight fix. So all of them have various timelines that are coming into the kingdom. Example, Microsoft is coming in at the end of the year. Oracle is already in Saudi. So there are things that we're still working on and still fine tuning to bring the connectivity of Europe into the Middle East and house it here, essentially. But it is still, we still have a very long way to go. I'd say we're only about 30% of the way, if that, right, of bringing in connectivity, which means we have 70% to look forward to.
That's great. So let's look into these cloud service providers. Let's discuss about the AWS, Azure, right? Could you please give us or develop a little bit on how the peering may need to adapt to handle the hyperscalers traffic coming into the Middle East?
Sure. It's a balance of traffic, right? The hyperscalers would need to adapt on their routes that they're taking from subsea capacity. There are disputes on how that could be done on some areas. But essentially, you're negotiating settlement-free peering with that particular telco in the Middle East. So overall, it is better as a medium ground and a starting point and adding value to that end's network by leveraging the cost point and bringing that down. I think that's the main area and the bottleneck that they're trying to address for many networks is reducing latency, lowering costs. They're the main two areas that everyone looks at.
Of course, key objectives. So you just mentioned these disputes, no? Like peering disputes that may happen with these hyperscalers coming in. So would you please share any anonymized, of course, example of a negotiation challenge that LINX has faced in the last months, in the last years?
Sure. And certainly we'll keep it anonymized. There are lots happening. There's always something happening and in the region that keeps it definitely interesting. So let's say operator X was negotiating settlement-free peering with a European hyperscaler for balanced traffic. They wanted volume commitments from them to justify the port capacity required, right? Essentially, they wanted free ports and etc. On the exchange itself, we were unable to offer that because the pricing that we offer is at list, and it's very difficult for us to move on that. But after many negotiations and bottlenecks and going back and forth for weeks, we came to a deal where operator and the particular content player, they managed to strike a deal by bringing in the content locally to KSA, opening a POP, reducing their costs. That was the main area because they were bringing in transits from Europe. If you're bringing in Europe, it's much more expensive. So we said, let's onboard you into Saudi Arabia, come into the country, and let's make it much more cost efficient for you guys, and therefore you'll be able to subsidize that cost on your imports. So it's a win-win scenario for both parties.
Absolutely. But I mean, this brings the question and regulation, right? Have you faced any regulation challenges in the last years, right? Because we know that content is something that worries the government a lot. Like, of course, bringing the content in is okay, but likewise, the European Commission wouldn't be so happy to bring out the content from Europe, right? So anything you could develop around regulatory challenges when it comes to connectivity to bring the data in KSA, in UAE as the main hubs. Yeah.
Regulation is actually a key part of the job. Some my friends ask me what I do. I say I'm a part-time politician in between. For dealing with regulators and things. we have to work with as our colleagues in the industry. So it is a huge point. Regulation is a key area. Obviously, each country has its own laws and regulations around TRA, CITRA, etc. So every regulator is obviously trying to do what's best for their country in question. For peering, the landscape has developed quite a bit. A lot of them actually use the London Internet Exchange's MOU and infrastructure to build their policies from, essentially. We are quite, I mean, if you look at globally, not just for the GCC, but globally, if you look at IXPs and operators from Internet Exchange operators, they do use quite a lot of LINX's own MOU wording and model, essentially. And the reason for that is because we've tested it, we've been in the business for over 30 years. We've got a model that works and that is very fair and thinks of the network first. But in terms of regulation and developments, it's a constant developing item where the regulator is always looking at new entrants into the market. Is it fair? How can the IXPs work for the betterment of the population, not for the betterment of telco? Obviously, there is a give and take for certain elements. And it's making them realize that by implementing X, Y, or Z, they would be helping the population further. And that just gives them something to further think about that adds value, again, to their population and who they're looking to serve, essentially. Because the regulator is there to protect the country in question and the population, essentially, as well as the telcos, to keep the telcos in line. So it's a delicate balance, and we're always happy to speak to regulators and try and offer our 2 cents of advice, and just hope that everything becomes more and more open for connectivity, really, that benefits everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Like just taking the correct balance between customer or own country interests to market development, and you cannot block one or another. So absolutely aligned.
Right.
But looking into this, what would be, if it was in your hand, if the day of tomorrow you were meeting the MCIT minister or the CST governor, for instance, which policy, which regulation would you like to change? Okay, let's not limit to KSA. Let's make it in the Middle East. Which policy could enable, could support the growth of peering of connectivity in the Middle East region? In your point, from your point.
In a dream world, the ideal scenario would be that regulation would be a lot more relaxed in local ISPs connecting into the operators, the telcos. If that would be relaxed, that would breed further competition within the marketplace, and also making it a more competitive environment for the telcos. I mean, essentially following the European model, right? Letting everyone in. When BT came into LINX, they were one of LINX's founding members, BT. They could have opposed LINX setting up in the UK 30 odd years ago, right? They didn't. They embraced it. And embracing it enabled an ecosystem to develop. In development of that ecosystem, it provides an open economy for companies to come, thrive, or do whatever they wish in an open spectrum, essentially. You could sell capacity to whomever. There was no barriers to entry on the marketplace. And the market essentially decided if your company was worthwhile and worth staying or not. So lowering the bar in competition would be the best thing to happen in the Middle East, because then we would have more entrants into the marketplace. The submarine capacity prices would come down. It would have a knock-on effect in the whole marketplace, as does capitalism in many areas, right? It would be the knock-on effect of that, and then we'd see economies of scale, more entrants into the market, more value to the end customer, essentially.
Thank you, Khalil. Getting to something you mentioned before. So just to recap, you mentioned the recent cut of a couple of cables, the Falcon, there was another one, the CNE4, right? In the Red Sea a couple of months ago, which affected the UAE, for instance, right? So bringing this in context, geopolitical tensions in the region, a big amount of this traffic coming through the Red Sea. do you believe that there is enough redundancy around, let's say, in Africa to keep connecting the Middle East to these key connectivity hubs, or maybe like more efforts are required to increase the granularity across the subsea cable infrastructure?
Well, the infrastructure for subsea cable will always keep growing. It's a build this and they will come mindset in the subsea world. There will always be demand for it within the GCC as a whole. Because if you look at the device structure of, the single household, right? You would have a laptop, maybe an iPad, a phone. The partner or kids would also have a phone or an iPad and playing games, etc. So a single house is streaming multiple gigs of capacity, right? A single household. Times that by a population of millions, and you've got quite a very stable infrastructure for networking needs, essentially. And that's what is happening, and that's what's fueling the growth. All of these apps and use cases that are out in the marketplace, that is what's fueling the demand, especially in KSA, to loop it back to KSA, but GCC in general. They love gaming. Yeah.
They
Gaming
have
is,
amazing statistics. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. We're one of the world's leading areas for gaming. And that is all heavy bandwidth connectivity, right? You can't play Fortnite with high latency. So it's not going to happen. In order for that to be possible, you need great connectivity, you need available bandwidth, you need bandwidth to go up and down as when required. And that will only continue to increase. In Africa, it's different. We're building it and they will come in 10 years or so, right? Because due to the economic power that they don't have the economic capabilities yet to be able to have 3-4 handsets, streaming games, multiple laptops at home, etc., etc. But as those devices become cheaper, the cost point becomes lower. They will be able to afford those devices and therefore stream Netflix maybe on 3 different devices at home in 5 years, let's say, right? Currently for them, the cost point is still a bit high for entry. So, I mean, the mobile device utilization is high, but in terms of what they're utilizing it for is still limited.
Fully aligned.
But they have the largest, obviously, population sets globally that is growing. So that's also going to be an interesting market, but it's just at different rapid rates. As with iPhones and the newest thing that comes out, I'm sure someone in Saudi is lining up to take them. And when they do, they increase their bandwidth capacity with us without even knowing, which is great for us and all around.
It's great for everyone in the sector, to be honest.
Really.
Now let's look a bit in the future, right? I mean, we know this growth that you're explaining. Also in the gaming sector, KSA is bringing more and more servers inside the kingdom or in the region to reduce this latency, which was the case. But what do you think about other emerging techs that could transform the peering dynamics in the region? Let's say 5G slicing, edge computing, this case of gaming, for instance, satellite backhaul. Do you believe like there could be any other, or that this would significantly impact the peering dynamics?
100%. There's a lot of moving factors now in the marketplace, especially with AI coming into play. That's the main word that I hear in every conference or majority of my calls that pops up. And the reason being, it's there's a large infrastructure investment into AI. Sure, we all hear the headlines every day. There's something happening in the world. A new app is being developed. New time has been shaved off of Grok search or a ChatGPT query. The technology used in being able to produce images and videos, etc. Llama just introduced a new video capabilities, I think last week, which are greatly superior to anything else that they've done. But again, that needs bandwidth. But the main area here is that no one still has a particular use case for it, apart from people asking questions into ChatGPT at the moment. So if you're asking questions into ChatGPT, what is the actual end use case that this could be utilized for? Example, as on a Zoom call, right? We're utilizing the bandwidth here. There hasn't been a real winner yet. We're very much still in the early gold rush area of when all the miners would come into the .com bubble, if you like, or further back, you go into the mining area of the US and the gold rush there, where many companies are being set up. Thousands of companies are coming in looking for gold. Maybe 5% of that will win and stay long term. The same happened with Facebook and the amount of social apps that were developed. The cream essentially rises to the top of the marketplace, and the customer will lead the way of that. So from our perspective, we don't know yet what it will be utilized for and how much bandwidth will be required. But certainly once a use case does connect in with a customer, for whatever it may be that the AI future holds, or gaming future, or telco capabilities, they will need bandwidth to reach the customer, essentially. And that's where the IX comes into play. But at the minute, we do not have a definitive winner or strategy or a light bulb to say it will be this or this or this to highlight specifically. I think that's the billion-dollar question that everyone is trying to work out in the AI marketplace right now. In the telco space, in the chip space, everyone is trying to see what the next winner is. They're building all the hardware for it. They're building, investing in NVIDIA, AMD, Brocade. All of them are building different chipsets for the AI world. And will it be a build it and they will come, or much like how fiber was put in all across London, we put in dark fiber. We didn't light that fiber up until it was needed. So it might be a question of doing the same here. And then once it is lit fiber, then we'll be able to see how that affects the internet exchange world and where we can deploy that capacity.
I mean, pretty sure that LINX will be on top of all this growth, and you will keep evolving. You will support all of these new use cases, regardless where they come from. Now, just looking at the time, I just have one final question from my end, Halil. What's the most exciting project you're currently working in the regional? And I may assume maybe related to the one that you mentioned at the beginning of the call, but maybe you want to describe something different.
Correct. You're actually spot on. That is probably the most exciting project I'm working on today, currently. It is the demand deployment. So as I said, we hope to go live in 6 weeks, and the team are working tirelessly to get that up and running. So I hope by 6 weeks time, you will see me very happy that demand is launched and we've got customers connecting in. That's certainly the forefront focus for me at the moment. Second to that would be NEO. And as I mentioned, we're looking at 2027 or so for that. So there's still some time in the future, but that's something I'm very much looking forward to, because we're creating a city from scratch and providing the infrastructure from day one, which is an amazing thing.
Best of luck with those projects. I mean, either the short and the long term. Me as a telecoms consultant, really looking forward on how they will keep shaping the telecoms, the connectivity in the region, in KSA in particular. So thank you so much, Halil. It's been really, really great discussing, getting your views from LINX side, from the regional perspective. And I'm sure a few more people will keep following up with you with more questions if they listen to us.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure.